Hello, neighbors.
Welcome back to the Future Neighbor podcast.
Yes, I'm sure you guys have missed our voices and our ridiculous thoughts, but we're back. Right now is, what day is today? November?
Yeah.
Actually, don't say it because like every time we date it, it feels old to people who are listening. So just,
Yeah. Someday.
It's someday in November. Well, at the very least, we're looking outside and oh my gosh, it looks like something out of Blade Runner. Like it looks dystopian.
It
The-
looks like kind of like we're in hurricane.
Yeah, you know what it's from? It's from and my nose is sounding kind of a little bit off, or my voice. It's because this dust, this micro dust, the air pollution today. We have an app in Korea that we usually open, and today it came out with a gas mask on that says 최악.
Yeah, it's like the worst level.
Yeah, and it says 절대 나가지 마세요, which means never go out. But
it's been like this for the past 2-3 days, and it's
Yeah.
just so not good.
yeah, it really.
Like I miss the sunshine. I miss good air.
Yeah, even the sunshine is not being able to penetrate this like wave of dust and pollution that's coming in from China. I was thinking about what sort of topics that we would like to discuss, and I felt like more than anything else, I wanted to touch on the topic of China in the way that Katie and I talk about it, because there are a lot of things from politics to social issues to a lot of stuff which I always have on the back of my mind. Like China disturbs me on a lot of levels, and I kind of want to just like get it out there. But every time I think about addressing some of the stuff, like Katie, you sometimes say like, but isn't that racist? Or isn't this
too controversial?
too controversial or politically insensitive? And that bothers me. What bothers me is that China has got in a position where anything they do wrong, or it's like we can't talk about it, right? And it's a kind of mixed in this like American mindset of China, where there's like it's mixed with wokeism, where anything you say about China, and if you're not Asian, then you're labeled a racist. And so there's no dialogue about China. When there is a communist regime who acts like in a bullyish way and just does anything they want on the global stage, yet no one around the world is able to like kind of talk about it, or even the mass media is not able to talk about it in a way that's like, that becomes very stifling, and then it becomes self-censorship. Actually, we're not going to go into this topic right now.
Yeah.
We're going to jump to it, but what's worse? Self-censorship or direct censorship? Right? Like if the state says like you're living in China and they censor.
Yeah.
Is that worse? Or is you censoring yourself worse?
Why are you censoring yourself? Because of some order or pressure from the state?
No, because you're getting feared of canceled, getting feared of labeled an adjective. So you just don't talk about it. We're not even in a position to be canceled, nor is that my personality. Like, I want to talk about it in a way. And I guess one other thing before we jump into that topic later is that there is this sensitive area which I would feel, especially if I was like Chinese American or Chinese European or any Chinese citizen that like integrated into a democratic culture. Like whenever you talk about China, it feels like an attack on your identity since it is your ethnicity. And so from that part, I think it's very tricky. That's something that person has to deal with.
Yeah, you're saying that shouldn't stop you from feeling in a certain way or speak about
or speaking about it. Yeah. Like for example, if I escaped North Korea and people shit about North Korea all the time.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, right? They're not, they're like Kim Jong-un is one of the worst guys probably ever living on the planet. Yeah, and I wouldn't feel good about it. But if I was living in the US trying to relive my life, that's just still that's how it is. And that sucks because that's the current state of affairs.
Yeah.
That's related to your ethnicity. That doesn't make you a bad person. But it does suck to be in that position because you're vulnerable. And then what really sucks is that, sorry guys, that's smog. What really sucks is that people who are educated and who have somewhat of a balanced understanding of reality can separate the person from their government. But I would say the mass majority, they just like to say that person, or they like to blame that person for the actions of the government. It takes someone who, it takes conscious effort to be like, no, but that person is just it's just a Chinese person. I don't like their government.
Yeah.
Like in your subconscious, you say, man, like we look at the smog and we go, God damn Chinese, right? But when we're talking about it, we're talking about like Chinese government. But in your subconscious, you don't do that. That's why it's called your subconscious.
Yeah.
Chinese is just Chinese. And so that part gets a little bit tricky, right? Mm-hmm. But if you keep talking about it, and the reason why I want to talk about it is if we have this sort of dialogue, I think people are able to separate the two, or know to separate the two, and don't let their subconscious just associate Chinese issues, Xi Jinping and his government, and all of this like stuff that are going on at the geopolitical level as fault of the person. Right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Because I have a lot of Chinese friends. I even have Chinese, family member. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like I don't like Chinese people.
Actually, my best friend is Chinese.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but even the fact that we have to like say this, but I guess we have to say this because we're talking publicly. Yeah. Like when we're talking with good friends or even with our Chinese friends about China, even. Or 2 weeks ago, I was on a Zoom call with my friend in Hong Kong, right?
Yeah.
And like we're talking, but none of us have to like say, we're not racist or anything, but we're talking in a public space. And I guess we have to do that.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm saying all this just because, we're coming from a space of like, I don't want to self-censor. I want to let like my ideas about it like out in the space.
And I feel like that pressure is much stronger in the US.
Yeah.
If you're coming from the US, because like it's such a multicultural country.
Yeah.
So it's very, very mixed environment.
Yeah, the US I think is the trickiest place to talk about this just because of where socially people are with like trying to be too woke. Like if you go too far to the left, you just want to see everyone as being like totally like there's no difference between men and women, which is silly. There's no difference between like races. There's no like everything becomes blurred, and at which point then it's silly. Building a different reality which is separated from the actual reality, right? But anyway, before we go too far into this topic, I feel like we already went like 3 minutes over. Anyway, that's our podcast. We're never scripted here. This podcast is brought to you by Gochujar. Gochujar is actually doing very well, and I'm actually very happy. Originally, when
it's a little baby.
Yeah, it's a little.
Is it adolescent now?
I think it's a teenager now.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's. Hopefully, it's not too rebellious. Like things don't start breaking apart and logistics starts going crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think Gochujar has been very interesting because when we first started it, I told my friend when I was talking about the idea of trying to export like premium foods to international countries, and I don't know, it's going to be expensive. I don't think there's going to be a market for it. But I was like, no, you know what? There's going to be. Yeah. And then I remember him saying like, well, then like what's going to justify you putting that much time into it? Like, how much are you expecting in sales and this and that? And I just remember him like, I just want to validate my idea. Like, I don't care even if I just sell like 10 products in the first month, that would be enough. And he's like, but that's silly. I was like, no, I just want to do it for me because I know that there's going to be a market there. And somehow like with that stubbornness, finding new product lines and making contract with suppliers and just figuring out so many one-off things, it's grown into like a viable business. I call this a viable business now. It's no longer project stage, and I'm very happy for that. So,
and we survived through COVID too.
Yeah, we survived through COVID.
I mean, the store had to be closed for like 6 months because there was like complete like stop in shipping.
Yeah, and then Trump also during his days forced the United States Postal Service to hike their rates by I think by 30 to 40%, which had it trickled down, and we thought, oh, that's the game over for us. No, but people still want it quite bad. Yeah. So today it's brought to you by a teenager called Gochujar. So very happy. We have fika pans, and the quality is amazing. We've been using their omelet pan quite a lot, the keranmari pan. Really nice. And they have a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, I like that omelet pan because it's very small. So like you don't have to use a lot of ingredients.
Exactly.
Like even to cook, keranmari, I think you can just use like 2 to 3 eggs, and then you can still make a puffy looking like egg roll. Yeah. Whereas on normal pans require much more and more difficult to keep it in shape.
Yeah, and for me, I like the wooden feel, like the wood. Yeah, it's like good quality.
Yeah, I like that too.
It's not like coated and just like wood looking things. Like so, it's nice. Right now, we have to upload like at least 30 new items, and we're so slow just because we have no time. And the companies that we're working with getting a little bit like impatient with us. But I need to get those out. But anyway, among those stuff that we've uploaded thus far, we also have the sujeongwa from Sangwa Tea Room. And the sujeongwa is cinnamon tea. And that thing tastes good. It's really good.
Yeah. The Korean
cinnamon tea.
Yeah.
It's usually served cold.
I love it.
After hanshik meals. But you can also have it hot. And so this Christmas time, dropped in eggnog. Who likes eggnog? Actually, it's not bad.
No. It'll be kind of the equivalent would be the mulled wine. Is that how you say it?
The mulled wine in Germany?
뭐라 그러더라? Something Vang. Oh my God, I can't think of it. Yeah, but I kind of match it similar to that.
Sorry, in my mind, I matched it to a specific memory. So when I went to Germany for like this business trip.
Bengshou.
Bengshou.
Our pronunciation
we're turning
is
into French.
Bad. Yeah, but it's French. I think it means hot wine.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, Vang is wine.
Vinchaud. We were in Germany during Christmas time for a business trip, and they have the Christmas markets. It's really nice, and it's cold outside. Everyone has their like warm jackets. Yeah. Then you see like a stall. You pay like €2 or something. Give you hot wine, and you just sip on that, and you check out all the vendors. It's really nice, actually. So I have that memory of Vinchaud, but then
Oh, I like to try it.
When you get the hot wine and like basement floor of Hyundai Baekajum, it doesn't give the same effect.
I mean, I've tried that Vinchaud in Korea. It's good, but I would like to try the original one.
That's right. So before we go on to that topic that we were talking about earlier, I'm actually pretty excited for a few things. We have a hotel booked, and what we're gonna do that day is we're gonna have like a end of the year
wrap up.
End of the year wrap up. And what I thought would be a good way, because you know how a lot of people do New Year's resolutions, which just never worked for me. Yeah, it's just an excuse to buy like a moleskin and just write a few things down and then never open it again. But what did work for what I actually liked when I was back in corporate was we used to have those Christmas parties, and then before it we have like we go through what worked that year. And I really like that because
it's like a recap of the things that we did during that year.
Yeah, what worked, what didn't go well. So like, and I wanted to apply that to our personal lives or to us personally, right? Because we're always thinking about projects, like both for the work that you're at as a programmer, but also side activities that you like. What worked, what didn't. For me, I would think about Future Neighbor. I'll think about Gochujar. I think about our blog. I even maybe think about this podcast and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's other stuff we've been working on. Yeah. And we could think about like, is it interesting to prioritize them in the upcoming year? And more importantly, how will we allocate our time to what areas? Yeah. And I think that's what I really want to like spend time on. Yeah. So if we have like a whole day at the hotel, maybe we'll make a little schedule. Of course, it can't just be that. We have to go like try the buffet, have some wine,
eat
like,
food,
enjoy,
check out the area.
Exactly. Maybe it's gonna be like
the full day, the whole time we're just outside having fun, and then like just an hour before checkout.
That sounds about right. Yeah, in a little moleskin. Yeah. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but regardless, I think just even the idea of a recap and just...
Yeah, I like that idea.
I was thinking it could be a good thing that we do yearly. Like, even if you have a family too, like if you have kids too, bringing them in, like, how was the year? And like, what did we do wrong as a family? And okay, why do I always start off, what did we do wrong? That's the Korean in me. Like, where did you guys do well? What was interesting? And the new year, what would you like to become more experienced in? And just high overarching themes.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, having themes works really well.
And I like that we do it in December, end of the year, rather than like in January.
January's
somehow,
too busy. The year
it
started.
started, and I think already you feel pushed, and just I can just imagine things getting pretty like hectic.
Yeah. Actually, you know why I just paused was that you scheduled that medical visit for me.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's like on 30th
Oh
December.
God.
It's all booked out, so the only spot we have were like...
Since Katie goes to a reputable company, like they also, her medical insurance allows one family member to also get like a pretty extensive health checkup.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's, I want to take advantage of it because you can't use it next year. And then a few years ago, in Korea, we call it 장내시경.
It's called in English mantropolysis or something.
What?
It is something similar. There is a word, something polysis.
장내시경.
Don't you have that?
There's 위내시경 and 위내시경 is a stomach endoscopy.
Oh, that's the word. Yeah.
Endoscopy. That does not sound. It's stomach, and then the other one is it's colonoscopy.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can never pronounce that word.
Colonoscopy. Yeah.
How do you even? 내시경 is endoscopy.
Endoscopy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's learn English.
So among the things that they had available, there was a colonoscopy, and yeah, that's not pleasant.
But you are sleeping, right?
You can choose either to get knocked out,
Yeah.
or
be sane, but nobody.
No, that's crazy. Yeah, because they put that camera up your butt.
Yeah. Oh, it's the butt.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's your
okay.
colon. Yeah.
Oh, the other one is through your mouth. Yeah.
And a lot of people get knocked out for that too.
My mom. Yeah. Your dad did it without the, what did you call
it? The stomach, the endoscopy. He didn't get knocked out.
Oh my God. You're so tough. My mom too.
Yeah.
She, like many years ago, I don't think she believed in those. She had some skeptics about those.
Oh yeah, your mom doesn't like the
what is that word?
Western medical treatments.
She does.
She fights.
But I think it's for very reasonable reason.
Oh my God.
Too.
Tangent. We got to talk about why your mom finally now got the COVID shot.
Yeah, my mom has a lot of skepticism about the vaccine, and like basically she's just in the countryside. She doesn't really meet new people and stuff. So, and then she believed in her own health and all this. So anyway, long story short,
she's been taking care of her health by herself through like natural foods, and like she just doesn't believe why she needs to get this government mandated vaccine when all she goes is to work home, and
always like, wearing masks.
And then she saw those like
and then
news about
pause.
Oh my God, that might be your mom. Does she have a mic? Does she have like a audio recorder in here listening to us in our married life? Hey guys, 1 second. Who was it?
It was the Hyeong-young.
What's Hyeong-young?
He's the next president nominee.
Oh, they've been calling. I picked up the call and I go,
안녕하십니까. 허경영 대표입니다. 이러지.
They live like the presidential nominees, like elections are coming up, and
next year
they leave these recorded messages. Like last time I was just waking up.
I hate these calls.
I was just waking up. I'm like, 여보세요? And I just hear, 안녕하십니까. I'm like, what the? I thought that was interesting. But anyway, yeah.
So going back to the talk. So there's now a new mandate they issued that a lot of these public services and all this just indoor places, you need to show your proof of vaccination.
Of 2 shots.
Yeah, of 2 shots to use it. And
so basically, not restaurants, but like any sort of entertainment facilities, sports facilities, spas, or anything like that, you need to show, or else you're not allowed in. Like our climbing gym, you have to show both.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for my mom, I mean, doesn't really matter. She doesn't go to gym, nothing really like that. But one place that just shook her life was 목욕탕. They started to require people to show that proof of vaccination.
Wait. 목욕탕 is what?
The Korean sauna.
Yeah.
And then it's like she's a regular there. Like she goes every weekend to a sauna.
Yeah,
it's
like a bathhouse.
It's her ritual. And then she said, oh my God, I gotta get vaccine because of this. And she started to ask me, which is better, Pfizer or Moderna? Which one should I get?
So the trigger for your mom was not able to go to her weekly bathhouse.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Everybody around her thought it was so amusing. I thought it was so amusing, and like as stubborn as a rock a person she is, and then all it needed was the 목욕탕 to like stop her.
Yeah. Yeah, her catalyst was the 목욕탕 lady being like, oh no, you need to show me. It's like, right, let's go get this thing.
And then immediately, like the next day, she went and got it. I mean, she said she tried to do the bath at home, but it was just too crazy. Like, yeah, you need a lot of water, first of all. So you need to fill up the entire bath. Guess it's not that common to do bath. I mean, we do have a bathtub in our bathroom too, but we hardly use it.
Yeah.
And then,
we never take a bath in it.
Yeah, it takes a long time to fill up the entire bath. And then she said when she was trying to pull the water out, it was so slow and there was some problems. So the water started to regurgitating and come back up. So they had to use this 뚜러뻥 to like, how do you say it?
They had to get a plunger?
Yeah, to like, to pressure to maybe like the water go down.
Maybe the pressure in her house is not good enough.
She said it was too chaotic, so.
Well, good. She could potentially have saved a trip to the hospital because of her desire to go to the 목욕탕.
Yeah. I mean, I knew she would have to get her vaccine sometime next year because we do want to do some like travel abroad with her. Mm-hmm. But I just didn't think that it was going to come so soon and so suddenly.
Right.
So I'm happy for her.
Yeah. So back to the sorry, when you were talking I was just thinking about the colonoscopy. Normally you don't get it when you're this young, but in Korea it's they provide it for very cheap, and since like I've had some like digestion I did it like 4 years ago, and then there was like a little polyps. Yeah, they had a few polyps, and apparently it's very common. They removed like 3 or 4 polyps, and I was surprised because like my friend who's pretty fat and he doesn't have good eating habits, he was like, yeah, I got 4 or 5 removed, no biggie. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, I was like, for sure I won't have any. I'm not that big, but I had it too. My other friend had it too.
Yeah, I think it's very common to have it.
Yeah, and they just remove it and you wake up. But knowing that I have to do that. And I guess the worst part is like when you have to prep for it, they give you these packets and you have to eat or you have to like drink this the night before. You have to drink like those 6 huge containers of water mixed with that thing.
Oh, that's so painful.
It gives you like,
That's one thing you don't look forward to.
And also I wanted to do it because my mom, I think we talked about on the podcast.
We did.
There was some like cancerous polyps. Sorry, just the thought of that put me in a different zone of thinking. I got to get back into my brain. Perso, I'm not looking forward to it. Oh, and so while we're on this topic of like health, lately I'm like considering whether doing LASIK or LASIK because
the eye surgery.
Yeah, for your vision. But I have this like kind of weird rationale in my head because my eyesight right now, like I could just walk around and see things and get by. So I could drive without glasses and it'd be okay, but it is slightly blurry.
Yeah. You would prefer to have your glasses on.
I would prefer to have it, but it's not mandatory. So if I go to somewhere like the movies, I'll get annoyed if I don't have my glasses because some parts gets a little bit blurry. So my question to, yeah, because I'm sure a lot of people who are listening may have already had that surgery. I don't know the difference between the two because I haven't looked into it. But regardless, either one, my rationale is that I want my eyes to get more worse and then go get the surgery. But hear me out, because I know that my life, I'm going to be in front of a computer. Like pretty much every white collared office worker is going to be in front of a computer for most of their working day.
Yeah.
For me, it's going to continue to be that way. For you, it's going to continue to be that way.
Yeah, my eyesights are getting worse and worse.
So my question is if I get the surgery next year, for example, my eyesight would get really good, but then it would
It'll go down.
It would go down.
Yeah.
Right?
Over time.
Right?
That's what's happened to me.
Really?
Mm.
How
it used to be really good. Right after the surgery, it's like so good, so clear.
Yeah.
Then yeah, maybe now I think I'm around that 0.6, 0.7.
Where it used to be what? Like perfect? 2020?
Yeah, 1.0.
Interesting. So that's why I'm asking. Maybe I should like kind of ruin my eyes more and more and more and do it like and then do it in like 10 years, because then my eyesight will improve back, and then until I die it will, it'll decay. So when should I start my decay of my eyes after improving it? Earlier in my life or later in my life?
No, I think you are taking it wrong way. I think you should try your best to protect your eyes as it is, not make it get worse, and then just so that you don't even have to get the surgery. Because I don't know whether this is a side effect of the surgery or not.
Dry eyes? No,
it's not dry. I didn't really get dry eyes, but I started to see some dots on my eyes. Like when I see some like a little squiggles and some few dots on my left eye, and it really bothers me. It used to bother me a lot, and then I went to the hospital to see it. And they're like, yeah, so many people have it. It's some sort of like droplets coming off from your eyeball or something. The doctor said the doctor was like, I had 30 of those, so don't even bring it up. That kind of attitude to me. Kaleidoscope. You have to live with it. But then I feel like there's more and more coming up. You don't know it because you don't have it. But it really bothers you. So in the morning when I open my eyes, it's like, it's just in one eye. It's kind of like my eyesights are blocked because of these little dots. And I believe it's kind of because of the surgery.
I mean, if you're seeing dots, I think that's an issue.
But I told you, right? And then I actually talked to some of my... Is it kind of like
those UFO lights? Like when you like...
No, it's there. So when you roll your eyes, it comes with you. It's like always there. But sometimes it switches position, so you'll get lucky because that thing will get to the back of your eye, so you will not see it.
So now when you're seeing me, you see like a dot?
It's not a dot, but there's a little like squiggle, and it's like blurry. And then, when you feel like you want to...
Rub your eye?
Yeah, rub your eye. That's the feeling I have on my left eye.
Yeah, I think...
But then you get used to it, so I guess... It's like, if you know that there's nothing you can do about it.
No, I think we should go to the hospital and see what it is. Maybe go to a better place. Living with dots doesn't sound...
It's like more like 지렁이.
That's worse.
How do you say it?
Anyway, okay. The other thing that I'm treating right now is, oh my gosh, when I was younger and I would play like tennis, and I'd play tennis like all day, and I was like training so hard. I got like a case of ringworm, and like from climbing those shoes, I got like a case of ringworm right now, and I'm trying to like treat it. And actually, it's a little bit of an experiment right now.
You like to experiment with your body?
No, I just like to see what works. Actually, it's more because I'm lazy to go to the skin doctor or the dermatologist and go ask for a cream. And when I was young, my dad told me to get apple cider vinegar, put it into hot water. He brought like a little pagaji or a little
basket.
And then pour water into it. And then I just dipped my feet into it. And I did that for like 30 minutes for like, I think 5 days straight. And then it worked.
Yeah.
I tried it this time. It didn't work.
Okay.
And so I looked online and they have, someone said, put bleach on it. And I was like, that sounds crazy because bleach is super strong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Super, super strong. I don't know.
You did it.
No, yeah. I ended up doing it, but it works. Yeah, it
but
works.
It's been going on like that. It's like it's recovering very slowly.
No, ringworm takes like couple weeks. Like it's not something that just goes away like a mosquito bite in 3 days.
Yeah. So I kind of experience various parts of life through you. I never experienced. Yeah,
it usually, I mean, you'll see it a lot in like high school, like with wrestlers who are sweating a lot, and it's very contagious. It'll spread. And then the other remedy was using the nail polish.
Oh, that was interesting.
So I start with bleach, and then at nighttime before I go to bed, I rub some of the clear nail polish over it, and which creates like a very, it suffocates it, so it can't breathe.
That's been working.
Hopefully I'm not grossing people out, but when you're wearing the same climbing shoes every day.
Battle with the bacteria.
Yeah, I'm just having fun with it.
Oh.
Now, if that thing starts, if it starts spreading to other parts of my body, I'll go immediately to there. But right now, it's a little science experiment we're seeing. But I was thinking, like, okay, what am I going to do with my climbing shoes? Like, how I obviously can't wash.
Oh my gosh, hear this out, guys.
I obviously can't wash it, right? So, like, research, like, can bacteria live in cold temperature? And they say no. If you put it in the freezer, they'll die. So
that's nasty.
But it's brilliant. Instead of washing it or anything, or of course you can put it in the sunlight. But right now there's not that much sunlight in Korea, especially near our apartment window. So put it into a Ziploc bag, put it in the freezer, and then did the trick. So it was a brilliant idea. So if you're climbing, you can freeze your shoes, which will get rid of any bacteria. Just talking about this is getting my back of my neck itchy. Oh, I feel so dirty right now.
No comment.
Oh, I feel so dirty. Okay. I think we went on quite a tangent about this.
I wish we can see some live reaction of our listeners.
One of the things that we've been discussing over the last few days was potentially opening up a Discord. For people who don't know, the Discord is like a place where the community, like if you sign in as a user, you can like chat with each other. So up till now, I think Future Neighbor, we've been on channels which facilitates commenting towards us, but it doesn't really help connect the people who are interested in Korean community. In Korean food and Korean culture. And we've had like so many DMs related to a whole range of topics, but they come to us because they like us showing recipes and they're cooking with us. But a lot of times the conversation goes left and right. And there's so much like topics that I feel like the community could provide better feedback than us. And I don't think we facilitated that far. And I think this would be a great way to let other users like provide value to other users, right?
Yeah.
Because how does a community build? You just need a topic where people come that are interested, that share a common like interest area, right?
Yeah, like there's a lot of people interested in K-dramas. Every time I post something in K-dramas, we get a lot of like DMs related to that. But I wish like more people, like we as a group, can like kind of interact. And a lot of people asking about moving to Korea.
That's right. That's another one. And also so two other places. One is Korean adoptees.
Yeah.
So like, they're reconnecting like post late 20s, early 30s, and they're reconnecting to Korean culture and they have so many questions. They want to talk with us in a long way. But the thing with us is that Instagram is like, we get so many DMs that like, I feel like anxiety. Like if I keep typing with this one person, because there's like, I don't know, like 85 other unopened messages. And so like bringing this out to Discord and letting other people add their input, I think would be great. Or we have parents of Korean adoptees. Their kids are young.
Yeah. And
right?
then they want to ask like, how can we expose our kids to like Korean culture?
What would be a good way? How do I teach them about like what's going on in Korean culture? Like what is expected at the dinner table and all this stuff. And it's not like I have the right answer. Well,
yes,
I'm not the only source of answer.
Yeah, sometimes our followers know more about Korea than us, and they're like, they send me like this article and like, what's going on? And I'm like, ooh, how do you know that?
Yeah, exactly. We're going to open up a Discord, and if you're interested,
Discord is like an easy way to think about it. It's like a Slack, but for social. Slack is for work, right?
Yeah.
The Discord is more for like outside work.
Discord was originally made for gamers. That's why I never really got into it. But recently,
there's a lot of community, like gathering, community.
Trying to learn more about blockchains and NFTs. And I ended up actually going into Discord, and I thought it was like, whoa, I don't know why I didn't make more use of it. So,
and it's free, by the way.
Yeah. So just keep that on the horizon. We'll start sharing that. And now to what we were talking about before. China. Oh, it's a little bit hard to jump back in. We should have just kept going.
This is our last topic of our podcast.
It was what were we talking about before? Like, okay,
self-censorship versus direct censorship. We were talking about that, but I feel like living in Korea, we don't really have to think about the self-censorship part. That's more like pertain to the US.
Yeah. There are some touch points that come to me very, like, for example, number one, where did Corona start? Corona started in China. They had a Wuhan lab there that was studying coronaviruses. And of course, they haven't admitted this, but in the beginning, mass media says it came from some bats, and then China deflects this and then says that, no, some American CIA, and they started blaming other countries. Do you remember that? Another news that pops up is this idea of that Chinese tennis player. She was like reporting that she was raped by a government official, and then now she disappears.
Yeah.
Another instance, NBA, anytime someone talks about Taiwan, all of their games get like censored in China, stealing IP technology from the West. I guess what I'm like listing is there's so many instances where China is kind of benefiting from capitalism but not playing fairly with the other democratic nations. And I think that's deeply troubling for me. And also China influencing democratic nations to not let their citizens talk about it, or not being able to voice opposition to things that we clearly know is wrong. Like, for example, this whole Uyghur situation. Anyone who talks about the Uyghur, it's hush-hushed. Even like the United Nations, there's so many. I mean, you can just research it. When they're asked about this situation, they quickly go over it because a lot of funding, China's basically octopus tentacles goes everywhere. What other democratic nations kind of act this way and are able to get away with it? So China's economic ties to all of these democratic nations influences people to just turn your head towards it, and they're able to just continuously act this way. And for me, I fundamentally look at China in a biased view because I've grown up in a democratic country, and what China pushes out, or their view of government and society, is an authoritarian way. There is no liberty. There is no free speech. It's it's the current whoever's in power for now, Xi Jinping thought, and that way of thinking is pushed all the way into education, and so you just have to go that way. And so for anyone who's living in a democratic nation, why would we want to follow that school of thought? We wouldn't. And so
no, I just think, I agree. And China is too big, too powerful, too strong, so that I feel like they kind of become a bully. Especially in Korea, we live so close to China. We're like directly much more affected by all these policies that China pursues, I think, much more than the US. And just even with this, air pollution too, it's been going on like this, like for the past few years. Yeah. And like, I don't know if our government can even voice our opinion about it to China, because China can always threaten, okay, then we're going to cut down on that. And then there is just basically not been anything done with it.
Yeah.
And
my whole position is that our government should address.
I agree, but
should
our
address
government
the
can't.
citizens' concerns.
I know.
They should they should do that. Now,
But they live in fear. I think we all live like us. Our government, at least the Korean government, is kind of in fear because China is like the center of like a lot of resources.
Yeah, China is Korea's largest export.
Yeah, and everything is made in China. So we are very much dependent on what they produce economically.
Yeah, and the same sentiment is shared even more by Australia, but they're starting to push back, and I feel that
I think the whole world is starting to wake up that they should kind of like readjust their policies on insourcing or outsourcing, especially in China. But like for me as a Korean, I have some mixed feelings because like our two closest countries are China and Japan. But every time anything that goes on bad about some actions done by the Japanese government, we are so like voicing so strongly and like it makes such a big news, and like our government is like so strongly against it. But vice versa, anything that China does something wrong, our government can't really say much.
Their level of opposition is not the same.
So that frustrates me a lot.
I think the trend will change once once our source of importing becomes less and less from China. I think just it's like our economic ties are too strong and interlinked, because up till now the whole story has been made in China and sourced cheaply, and everyone's making money off of that. You know, especially with Corona and seeing how a lot of valuable products that a country needs themselves, that they need to produce it in domestically. I think that has already started. Yeah, but somehow just the way, like, I started to learn more about the way that like China also influences their citizens abroad. So, for example, when Chinese students are studying abroad in the US or in other Western cultures, China will fund like student groups. Like, for example, they'll have something called like a Language Institute of China, something sounding very innocent. But they will actually like keep a tab on Chinese students who attend, let's say, Free Taiwan movements or anything that's oppositional to the Chinese viewpoints. They'll indirectly coerce those students, call them in, and they'll report into the embassy. And so, like Chinese,
that's crazy.
Yeah, those tentacles go everywhere, right? And so
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
And then you know there's like the big Chinese YouTuber who like makes food in the countryside, but she makes really aesthetic like kind of food videos. And then she had like there was a big controversy because she released a video calling kimchi like Chinese food, and she shows how she makes kimchi.
Yeah.
And then later on you told me that she is actually funded by the Chinese government to make those videos.
Sorry, guys, my nose is starting to turn on the faucet. But in that case, that girl, she has a whole production team behind it.
You know her channel?
I forgot.
Yeah.
China has a habit of liking to call other countries' cultural things as theirs. So
for us, it was not just kimchi. Like,
hanbok, they also did that to hanbok.
Yeah,
they claimed that that's theirs. And anyway, while they were pushing this idea, you know, because Korean music, Korean culture is on the global stage right now, and it's so hot. But China wants to claim it as theirs. And they were making this push that kimchi was theirs. And as part of their reach, they're always trying, like if you ever grow big in China, like you have a social media presence that grows big, if China calls on you,
I think they do call on you. And
you need to, there's no answer but yes. And so, for example, for that YouTuber who's
otherwise
making those,
you're removed.
You're removed. You're gone.
Yeah, you disappear.
There's an article that says the biggest threat to billionaires, for Chinese billionaires, is China. Like, how many billionaires have disappeared in China?
Look at Jack Ma too.
Yeah, he's done. So this YouTuber, she's growing big, and then China basically wants her to use her influence to basically echo their feelings about kimchi. And so she's forced to do that. Right? So it's pretty sad, actually. You can't grow big in China And as soon as you start getting influence, that takes away from the government's ability to influence, and they shut it down.
Yeah.
So, for example, even the Korean K-pop,
yeah, there
right?
was
They banned K-pop and under the guise of we don't want feminine boys, which basically is saying that, you know, we don't want anything coming out of K-pop.
Yeah, and also there was actually a member of a K-pop star. She's actually from Taiwan.
Yeah.
And then there was a big incident, I think during a live show or something. She kind of showed a flag of Taiwan on TV, and then like China got so like made a huge issue out of it that she ended up having to apologize for her holding up a flag of her country.
Yeah.
Like Taiwanese flag.
Yeah. It seems like the whole world has to like kowtow to China because of their economic interest. And I think that's totally wrong. If China wants to continue to grow, they need to play correctly and fairly with the international world. And it shouldn't be the reverse. I mean, I'm sure if you guys Google and your country has their own instances of like China getting away with just acting the way that they want to do simply because their economic exporting partner is China.
They're too powerful.
And that dynamic, I think, is very frustrating. And while that could just be the reality of it, again, not being able to talk about it is so undemocratic. Who are we who live in democratic nations not be able to talk about the injustices of a different country? Right? Why is that bad? We always talk about how bad North Korea is. That's fine. We should. Why we can't talk about like the injustices that's going on in China, like their oppression of the Uyghurs, right? Putting them into concentration camps. And another point is like if I'm a Chinese citizen and you live underneath communism, you're not allowed to dissent, or it doesn't favor you to dissent. So
yeah, because you are gonna be punished.
You're gonna be punished. Your social score is gonna go down, and it just limits your freedom. So if you live in this reality, why would you otherwise think differently from what the government tells you? You don't. I'm sure there are a minority that fights back, but that's suppressed very quickly. I mean, it's not like I'm looking for some sort of conclusion or some decisive action. I mean,
just we expressing our frustration.
Yeah, I'm just expressing my frustration of, I guess my answer is that I want to talk about some of these issues that are wrong, and I want governments around the world to address this and not kowtow to China just because of economic interest. Now, that's very easy to say because elected officials have different KPIs that they need to meet, right?
Yeah.
And so if your largest trading partner is China, I mean, it's terribly difficult because if your GDP is shrinking, nobody cares about all this other stuff. We're not living well.
Yeah.
So there's like it's very tricky, but it shouldn't be selling out democratic values just for growth. There has to be some sort of medium. And every time that there is sort of a big injustice, we should talk about it. And I have to say one more time, I have to say it again. We're talking about the Chinese government.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, we're not talking about Chinese people. Don't try to conflate the two. And if you do, make a conscious effort to separate the two.
I think, what you say about separating the government from the people is so important, because when I think about Japan, there's all that political as well as societal pressure to hate Japan. And of course, there's so many things that they did really bad in the history. Like we have very painful history of Japanese colonization and all the comfort women and all the inhumane things that they did to the people, all the wrong experimentation and stuff.
Human experimentation.
Yeah.
Atrocities during the war.
Yeah. But then I feel like there's also the other parts where like the young people now, they like Japan for like their culture, people like, or
food,
like they,
sightseeing.
They just love like Japanese, like architecture and like just traveling in Japan. yeah, there's just because of that history, and then like the government like policy, it's like I feel like it's so important to separate the two, because otherwise you're just going to grow up hating a country and the people.
Because you tie the two together.
Yeah, and then you will also realize like, well, you ask yourself, why do I hate the people? Then you also wouldn't really be able to answer it.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting for me because before I moved to Korea from the States, I did a study abroad, and my first country outside the US was I studied abroad in Tokyo. And I got to do I lived with a family. It was a young family, and the mom's name was Mika.
Yeah.
And she was so cool. Like, I actually described it as one of the most funnest times of my life.
Yeah.
Because I think I talked about it in the past episodes, but they had an izakaya. They were very rich. They just showed me the best time of my life. Every night after school, we just go to the izakaya. I would drink with the neighborhood, and I got to know all of the Japanese people in that neighborhood. I approached it with this, because at that time, I was an American in the way that I thought. I didn't approach it like, oh, these people are my enemy. Like, for example, if I was raised in Korea,
yeah,
that historical context would have been preached to me by my grandparents or this.
Japan.
Not to hate, but just really like be prejudiced, like this is what they done, and make sure you remember that.
In Korea, there's certain people even in my age who would like, I would never travel to Japan.
Right.
Because I hate the people.
But my history classes were taught from an American standpoint.
Yeah.
So
it's more like
Japanese colonization of Korea was a sentence. Or the pro is I don't carry that baggage or that stereotypes and all this with me, which lets me be more open to knowing the people without starting from a negative mind space. Yeah, and I still keep a good relationship with them. And every time I go, and it was like almost like an extended family to me.
Yeah.
And I love them, and they love me too. And
yeah, they do.
And that
you have very good positive memory of Japan because of them.
Yeah, and I go all the time. And I want to go back all the time. And when people ask me about Japan, I think it's great, right? And so I think that's what we're talking about, is that don't let China's actions at a geopolitical level, at a national level, influence potential positive relationships with the people. And I go back to the other point is, the only hesitancy of me like talking about this is that there's a lot of people who are uneducated that will take geopolitical news as the people, and like to curse at people, to show this like Asian hate. It's like that's just the reality of life. Like not everyone is educated or just ignorant.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's
It gives me pause. Yeah, that gives me pause, and I don't want to contribute to that. But at the same time, my reality of living in Korea, it's completely different from the Chinese American or the Korean America living in the US.
Yeah.
When I talked to my friend who came to visit and we were talking about stuff, and I was like, man, the Chinese are sponsoring like buying up Gangneung, this huge land, and turning it into a Chinatown. Yeah. I'm like, why would we want Chinatown there, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, like he has no idea, no clue of like what China does in Asia, because they never hear about that. The only thing you hear about is stop Asian American hate. Like, of course, like nobody wants that, but you don't see why people living in Korea or living in other countries dislike China. It's going to be far removed from this concept of racism. Yeah. There are actually policies that are affecting that country. And so if you start to understand how China's tentacles affect countries that are outside of the US, beyond this wokenism of like, oh, don't just try to hate Asia. No, there are real policies that are affecting people. Like right now, my nose is a leaky faucet. 60%, 70%, because China keeps like all of their plants.
All these coal factories are all located on the east coast of China, and then every time the wind blows, the wind blows from China to Korea direction, unfortunately. So we are so directly affected.
Exactly. So, yeah.
And then it's just starting, like every winter it repeats.
Yeah.
Because winter is the time they burn that coal the most.
Yeah, they need that.
And it's just starting for this year now.
Yeah.
I'm really not looking forward to it.
Yeah. No, we can't finish with this note. It's not our style. We gotta bring it back.
Next year, not sure when exactly, but sometime next year, I'm potentially thinking of taking some break from my work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Like stopping the job.
Yeah, and then just invest more time into like studying about this just Web3, the NFT space, and it's because I'm a developer. Some of the things that I can contribute to the space, I'm very interested about that.
Yeah, like blockchain, smart contract.
Yeah,
developer.
and I feel like in this space, like in terms of technical stuff too, there's so much is going on, and every week there's some new protocol opening or new some technology, and I find it so hard to catch up. And I feel like I really need some time, like completely dedicated, block out my time to learn and hopefully I want to do some like mini project on this space too myself.
Katie, the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed. Right now, like that iPhone moment when everyone started to become a mobile developer, iOS developer.
Yeah.
The time for blockchain developers and building smart contracts.
Yeah, maybe
that's happening.
Yeah. So
our logic is that, like Katie, right now, if you keep continuing on as a UI developer, you could probably spend the next 100 years and you still won't be in like a top person.
I feel like the UI developer used to be good for the past 10 years, but it's gonna kind of lose its lust and become one of those just maintenance.
No, there's just too many people in it. It's a red ocean.
Yeah,
so you need to like leapfrog, or there's an opportunity to leapfrog to become kind of a industry leader and industry expert in a space like smart contracts.
Yeah.
Ethereum.
Do we have any
Solana.
any listeners already in the Web3 space or thinking to jump into Web3 space?
Yeah, if you're working in Web3, Katie made this. Katie's already dipped her toes into it. She made this like Squid Game.
Like a toy project. Squid Game in browser game I'm working on. I'm kind of like need to finish up the UI, but once it's done, maybe I can share.
You turn on MetaMask and then just like you fight with the tokens.
Yeah.
The NFTs and stuff.
It's really like childish, but I mean it interacts with the blockchain, and so it's kind of fun.
Developers who've already dipped their toes.
Yeah, I like to open. That's why I want to open that Discord channel too. Or you can just DM me on my Instagram. We can talk.
Yeah, definitely. You bought that domain name on Solana.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
What is it?
Oh, yeah. So I it's just for fun. I went to that domain site to get a domain for Solana.
Actually, let me give some background. Like for people who are non-tech.
Yeah, what is even Solana?
So like, I'm not going to go that far. That's a whole different podcast. But basically, like, when you go to a website, like for example, www.google, like in the background, those are numbers. Originally, like the IP address is like a number
172.168 whatever.
So when you're sending cryptocurrencies, likewise, it's like a 20 letter and number jumble. Yeah. So now there are services for specific blockchains. Like for example, Ethereum has a naming service. So you can write like katie.ens, and instead of writing the 20 letters or numbers, it can be sent. And so there's another blockchain called Solana, and Katie was. It's recently launched, and they're giving out, or you have to purchase domain names, and then
but it's much cheaper than the Ethereum. So, so I kind of
put in a bid.
I put in a bid.
What did you find?
And then I ended up getting it. Yeah. And the one that I got was surprise. 현대자동차.Seoul. 현대자동차 is basically Hyundai.
Yeah, Hyundai cars.
Hyundai cars. I don't know why I own that. But
so in the future, when Hyundai Cars opens up their Solana wallet, I'm sure they'll be coming to you.
They're gonna contact me
to buy it from you for $1 trillion. $1 billion. No, it's not gonna happen. But we were just having fun with it, and we were just
and it was really cheap, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Maybe I paid $20.
Yeah, there was like an influx of Korean names. Like normally
there was Samsung, but I lost the bid.
Oh yeah, but that other person put in like Hyundai and then Samsung and
Gangwamun, Gyeongbokgung, but it was all Korean words. I thought it's kind of funny and cool. So
yeah, we just wanted to like see how far this person would like how much they wanted the names and just like putting bids in.
Yeah.
And then Katie got the
So it's like, oh my god, is it really gonna happen? And I was like, you won the bid. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, we're too far into this tech space. I think most people don't even know what we're talking about. So we'll cut it here. Neighbors, we'll be back. I think we're going to do more of this podcasts and keep an eye out for Discord.
Yeah.
Much love.
Thank you for listening. Bye.